First and foremost, digital transformation happens because people want it. At least that is what we have seen in Estonia. Things start from legal space setting. It is the legal space which has to provide for digital services. We in Estonia do not understand that public sector has to be somewhat less developed than its private sector.
Estonia is a small country and it's easier to go through a digital transformation process.
Actually, size doesn't matter. You can be big, but you can be digital.
Madam President, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, for being here at the first Parliamentarian Private Sector Forum we have in Romania. Maybe one day, who knows, Estonia is going to host this. Her Excellency was both the first and only female head of the state in Estonia, as well as the youngest president. As leading digital governance country, Estonia digitalized most of its public services for a while. So as you made a name in Europe when talking about digital transformation of a nation, and you are among the leaders, which is the very first step when starting such a process?
First and foremost, digital transformation happens because people want it. At least that is what we have seen in Estonia. And when we started, private sector was offering digital services. I mean, online banking existed, started 1994. So in Estonia, our government was following this and said, okay, people bank online. Why on earth they don't pay taxes online? Things start from legal space setting. It is the legal space which has to provide for digital services. This is the only way to do it. And what we got right, maybe accidentally, is that we said, digital ID is nothing but a passport. Passport in analog world equals passport in digital world. You do not sell your apartment without showing your passport, and you don't buy it without showing your passport in a notary office. So how on earth should you expect to sell or buy something online without similar passport? It is that simple.
In this journey, did you encounter any resistance from political leaders, from the society in general?
Well, if you think back when we didn't have digital services yet, but the mobile phones came and then Amazon started, did you encounter any resistance from citizens to use Amazon? You didn't. Then why on earth should you encounter resistance from citizens to use online ability to sell or buy a car without going to the office? I cannot understand why there should be resistance in the opportunity not to go to the school to register your child, but to apply online for a place in the school. Any more than you have resistance to banking online instead of wasting time in the bank office. I mean, where's the difference? Tell me. I mean, Estonians at least have never seen a difference. And we in Estonia do not understand that public sector has to be somewhat less developed than its private sector. So politicians, of course, realized the reality. Technology is there, everybody's going to use. Do we want Estonians to, be part of it? Yes, we want Estonians to be part of it. Civil servants, of course, were a different story because 60% of people who worked in tax office lost their jobs. But luckily, in Estonia, unemployment has always been very low because we have extremely liberal labor market. And private sector, of course, always picks up the people who are skilled and talented, which were people in our tax board. So indeed, there will be efficiency gain in public sector, and it does mean job loss. But we are losing the jobs which are not the most interesting. And these people all have the chance to go and do something more interesting, like tax advice, for example, instead of, simply tax gathering. Isn't it so? In all technologies, jobs which are not worth doing if you have a human brain are those who get automatized. Those jobs which mean we are compassionate human beings to each other, they remain. This is our competitive advantage in 21st century over AI, over all machines. We can specialize on being compassionate human beings, and this is worth doing.
That's a strong message for countries. In countries as yours, where the digital transformation process is somehow almost done, we are talking more and more about innovation. How do you think we can embrace and integrate innovation in public services? Because this is another story.
Well, once you have explained to your citizens that government has absolutely no excuse to offer less than private sector does, people start to promote themselves the development of the systems. Of course, it is not always simple because you have the legal space which constantly needs to extend and expand. We tend to take a position that if it's not forbidden expressis verbis, then it is possible. There is such a thing like Accelerator Estonia. Accelerator Estonia is Estonian government investment body which invests globally into the ideas which people present in competitions to this body. Which means government puts its own money into a new digital idea. And now, if this idea needs changes in legislative space to thrive in our sandbox, then obviously government has a skin in the game. So they have to adjust. This is the plan, how we plan to be always a little bit ahead of the curve. Will we succeed? Let's see in 10 years' time. I don't know. But right now, for example, we have taken the position that since our traffic code does not say that the car has to have a driver inside to be driven, it is possible to imagine that you have a set of drivers who sit somewhere in the office and drive cars back home or to the loading station remotely, for example.
Some would say that Estonia is a small country and it's easier to go through a digital transformation process.
Do you know what is Trambita? Trambita is the Ukrainian e-government system. Ukraine is a nation of 40 million people currently suffering the aggression of Russia. Trambita, in the first 2 months of this aggression, registered 5,000 new companies within Ukrainian jurisdiction who are able to pay taxes. Ukrainian government services still run for their citizens who are not even in Ukraine, like e-school for Ukrainian children. The public registries which allow to establish who is related to whom, even if all the buildings in Mariupol are destroyed, in principle property rights can be verified by digital systems. Ukrainian model has been also supported by Estonian experience, and it's very similar in architecture. And it serves 40 million people in big distress today. So no one in no big country has this excuse, I'm sorry to say. It doesn't exist. In addition, Trambita has made it possible for Ukrainian society and government to have additional resilience stemming from new technologies. Of course, thanks also to the help of the private sector and Elon Musk and Starlink, I mean, making sure they do have internet connections still available. But those people outside Ukraine as well are benefiting. So this case study demonstrates to us that actually size doesn't matter. You can be big, but you can be digital.
It seems that the room strongly approves both your statements and that there are no excuses for the countries, large countries, in not achieving their digital goals. But how do we ensure that we are reaching any corner of the country?
It is expensive and it takes time and it takes private and public sector cooperation. The society, the government, the parliament who have to lead, because indeed most technology is created as it should be created by the private sector. But societal change is the responsibility of the politicians. No shying away from that. Government, parliament, they have to take the responsibility.
How long does it take to grow a digital nation with people that already embrace the technology and are using the technology every day?
Less than 10 years. The first public service went online before digital ID. It used the banking gateway. It was the tax board 1997. Because, I mean, is there anybody in the room who loves queuing at the tax office and talking to the taxman? No, I don't see any hands going up. Well, if you are living in Estonia and you want to see the taxman, I mean, there is a place where you can do it, but most of us don't want to. So we were extremely relieved we'd never have to see a taxman. And similarly, if you tell people that, I mean, you don't have to queue so that your neighbors see that you need social support from government, people do it online. If you tell young mothers that you don't have to take your baby and go to the city government to register the birth of a baby, it happens automatically in the hospital. I mean, people do embrace these services. Yes, you have to make also sure that they know their data is protected.
How do you think we should educate the younger generations? Because we are talking more and more about digital natives. Do we have to invest more in their tech education, or should we invest in teaching them traditional subjects, encouraging them to be active members of the society? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, that's kind of counterintuitive thing, because you know, whatever we try to teach our children, it is Stone Age when they enter the job market. So forget about training children in digital skills any more than you teach children to read or write. You need to give them access and you need to give them adequate training. This is simple. What is more complicated is now that because our children do not acquire naturally people skills, emotional intelligence, reading other people's body language, then learning to be a human being in a human society, this same compassionate human being, this is the skill we need to train since kindergarten and need to continue with this in all education system. And in a way, this is relief because this we know what it is and it functions similarly on each technology level. Technology levels we cannot imagine. They still need to be compassionate human beings, able to survive and able to support each other's dreams. And this is the paradox in the whole thing. Technology, they catch themselves. How to be like we want them to be. This we need to teach them now.
But do you think that technology can help us in achieving this, in helping them to have more developed social skills?
No, you cannot use technology to teach somebody to be a human being. This is our competitive advantage. This is exactly what I'm saying. Machines don't take that away from us. We will always have better cognitive capabilities.
What does e-governance mean? It's a mindset, it's a tool, it's a community.
Don't over-mystify things. It's a passport online, nothing else. I mean, it's an opportunity for government and for private companies to apply safe, secure, encrypted, time-stamped kind of signing opportunities, exchanging data, checking data, making sure that it is safe. But it is nothing else.
You said about safe internet, and we all know that it was a moment in your history when you were under a strong cyber attack, and the infrastructure, a big part of your infrastructure crashed. Are you prepared now?
Yeah, it was 2007. We were attacked by cyber means. We were the only government who could be attacked at that time. The type of attack we had then, I'm sure that while we are talking, half of the bodies you represent are under similar kind of attacks today, because this is, I mean, how the world is. Attacks are raining on all digital ecosystems. Somebody's all the time knocking at your door. And you have to understand that this is the case. So you have to be designing your system so that it is not one big system, which is safer anyway, because if it's compartmentalized, also stealing data, sneaking at data is more difficult than when it is in the one system. It has to be kind of in several copies. It has to have several ways of access. I mean, all this applies very similarly to all technology systems.
Do you think, related to the cyber, that we should think about having an European, maybe army for cyber defense?
Each and every government in Europe today has an agency which is responsible for making sure that the services it is offering are defended and protected all the time. None of them is ready to explain to us in detail how they operate or cooperate, neither on civil side nor on the military side. But trust me, they exist, they operate, and they cooperate. And this is how it needs to be.
You are seeing many times that your strongest partner was industry while transforming and digitalizing Estonia. Which is the secret for this? Because it's not working in most of the countries. I mean,
well, first industry had their own interest. banks and telecoms, they didn't want to open offices in a not densely populated country. I mean, Estonia is as big as Netherlands, but we have 1 million people. Netherlands is about 20 million, I guess, 19, I think. So you see, I mean, there is no revenue in bank office building in Estonia, and so they didn't want to do it, and they wanted to save money. That's why. But that's why we also used companies who were interested in Estonia and the Estonian market. Estonia, being a tiny country, lacks workforce. So our companies bring the concept, but develop by partnership local ICT sector to take over once it is in place. Because simply, I mean, we don't have the workforce to help each and every government globally to run their e-government. We are 1 million, I am sorry. We try to get people on the right track, but then we bow out and we leave it to the local ICT developers.
The last question. If you would start Estonia e-governance system again from scratch, which are the lessons learned? What would you do differently, in a different way?
We need to do things differently because when we started our system, then the most dangerous thing online was a virus. And you downloaded Kaspersky and it was not a problem. So you'd need from the day one to invest much more into defending the whole ecosystem. You cannot kind of gradually grow up as we did together with the internet. But I would also keep in mind that doing it is worth doing it because we say we believe about 5 working days per capita a year of our people's time. And we have 1 century on this planet, each and everybody, not the time we want to spend queuing in the government offices. Second, we also know that by providing for safe internet tools, people will learn that there are unsafe internet tools simply by having the comparison. And third, it will have positive side effects if you manage to do it inclusively, because very often we see private sector reluctant to invest into something together with governments. All private sector people here, no pain, no gain. You have to invest together with the government because you will share also the cost savings and the benefits of the whole system. So go it together.
President Kersti Kaljulaid.
Thank you all.